Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kate. Today I've got another speed paint, which probably doesn't come as a surprise since that's about all I do. Yeah, we've got Symmetra from Overwatch in her, I think it's the 2017 Halloween skin. Not 100% sure on that. I actually don't play Overwatch. I painted this one as a gift. But if you don't... Oh, and then also I'll be talking about kind of how I make my color palettes without knowing a whole lot on color theory. So if you're not here for that audio, if you just want to watch the video, that is totally good. Just put me on mute. If you're interested in some alternative audio options, I've got a couple down below in the description, so check that out. But moving right along. So yeah, this is, like I said, I think the 2017 Halloween skin for Symmetra, which is the Dragon Symmetra skin. Super cool. I'm actually really tempted to start playing Overwatch just because I was looking through all the different characters and their skins, and it's pretty amazing. But the one thing that's like the biggest difference between this painting and the actual Halloween Symmetra, Dragon Symmetra, is the color palette. And so I'll kind of get into color palettes and let you know what I think. I don't have a very good understanding of color theory. I know, the basics like primary colors, secondary colors, complementary colors look good together, that kind of thing. But I haven't had like a formal training on it, and I still haven't found a very good book. So if you have any book suggestions for color theory, definitely drop that in the description. Not the description in the comments, you get what I mean. But if you could put it in the description, also let me know, because I probably have some security issues. But getting into color theory. So, not color theory, color palettes. There's like 3 kind of main routes that I go when I'm picking out a color palette. The first is definitely the easiest, which is like, don't reinvent the wheel. There are so many color palettes out there already on the internet free for you to use, and they're good. I mean, my favorite places are definitely like Pinterest searches, like color palette inspiration is a great search, or like color palette inspo, color palettes. They're really good. I think you do need a Pinterest account though to do that. So, oh, and then another Pinterest search that's super good is like, or Tumblr even, like I think just about anywhere, if you search color palette challenges, you can get like 100 color palette challenge, and then if you save it, you've just got 100 color palettes at your fingertips. So cool. And they're usually like amazing. So yeah, you can look for those on Pinterest as well. But if you don't have a Pinterest account and you don't want one, there are also like color palette like social media sites that you don't need accounts for. I think like We Love Color is one that I've been to a lot. I'll try to find a couple links and put those in the description below. But those are super cool, and you don't usually need an account to look at those. And some of them even have like related image things. I don't really know how to describe it, but definitely check those out. So yeah, that's the easiest of the 3 for sure. The second method is to kind of borrow from what's already working, which sounds kind of similar, but you're taking it one step back, I guess, and looking at like photos or even from life or artwork. Of course, with artwork, being careful not to overstep your boundaries with anything. But yeah, getting like, if you're doing digital art, just the eyedropper tool and picking up colors like that, maybe tweaking them a little bit. Or if you're using traditional media, just getting ready for paint and just studying the colors that you're looking at, trying to figure out what you can mix together to make the same one. It's not always the most rewarding at the time that you're doing it. It doesn't feel like it's very rewarding, but I learned a lot about mixing colors doing that. But I'm still interested in learning how to mix colors like a real person, so if you have advice on that, again, in the comments, very much appreciated. Oh, I totally forgot to mention, on the first method, I think I forgot to mention this, the thing you can run into that can be kind of a problem on that first method of like looking on Pinterest and stuff is you can spend a lot of time browsing through libraries full of color palettes, like seriously, like hours, like days of your life, probably longer. So one thing you can kind of do to get around that is really think about what you're looking for in a color palette before you open up your browser. Think about like, okay, am I going to be looking for something kind of dark and moody? Is it going to be something kind of soft and saturated? Like what exactly are you looking for? That'll definitely, and like write down what you want to get out of your color palette search, and just like put on a cute little sticky note, stick it on your monitor. It will save you a lot of time. On the flip side, if you have no idea what you're going to be making and you are looking at places around the internet for inspiration, look at some color palettes. Some of them are so expressive, like just the colors themselves and the way that they're sitting next to each other gives you like very strong emotions and like images. And yeah, definitely a good place to check for inspiration, but I digress. I guess that brings us to the third method, which is probably the method that I use the most often, but definitely the most, I guess, inaccurate or incorrect of the three. This is me really not knowing what I'm doing, but if it helps you come up with at least like one interesting palette, then it's still worth sharing, I guess. But anyway, usually what I start with is picking like one focal color, and it'll either be the color that I want to be like the main color in the piece, or the color that I want to be the most intense in the piece, or like the part that I want to have everyone's attention focus on. So for example, if I was drawing or painting a portrait of a girl with red hair in a green forest, I would either start with the green that I really like, that I want to be the forest, and then I would base like the red in the girl's hair off of that green. Or if there was a red that I really liked for the girl's hair, I would pick that color and I would then base the green on that red. You know what I mean? So I pick like a color that is the most important to me first, and then I go based on that. And there's kind of a fork in the road here where I want either the color to stand out, or I want everything to kind of blend together harmoniously. And so like with the Symmetra painting, I wanted everything to be pretty harmonious, so I picked colors. Every color that I picked had like some red in it, so like the red in her skin was that fluorescent red, and then the dark purple for her like armor and upper face and stuff is that same like fluorescent red plus one more red, and then like blue. But I tried to have way more red and I think some black, but anyway, mostly red. The background is like a light pink. It's actually light portrait pink. And so I kind of muddied everything together a little bit to make sure that everything played nice, I guess, aesthetically. And so if I want a harmonious color palette, I'll go in that direction. If I want a kind of contrasting color palette, I will... I guess this is a little bit of color theory, but what I do is I go for the color that is opposite to my focal color on the color wheel. So like if it was red, if red was my focal color, then green would be the opposite color, which is why if I was painting a portrait of a girl with red hair in a green forest, that's why I would have red hair and a green forest, is because they're complementary colors. They're across from each other on the color wheel. So yeah, anyway, getting back to the palette, I would take my focal color, and then I would take the color that is opposite to that color on the color wheel, and I would move it just a little bit. So, again, going back to the girl in the forest, if I had like really red hair, I might look at what a kind of a yellow-green forest or a blue-green forest would look like, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I would pick the supporting colors from that end of the color wheel. So if I was going with like a kind of a blue-green for my supporting colors, I would pick some less saturated blue-greens. And one of the ways I would like get them to be less saturated is by adding a little bit of that red. I don't know if that made a lot of sense. I hope it made some sense. But what I'm trying to say is that focal color that we first talked about is usually, for me, I want it to be like the most saturated, like the richest color in the painting. So I won't mix that color with anything. But all of the other colors, so the like 2 to 4 colors that are my supporting colors, I want those to be less intense than my focal color. And so to get them less intense, I will either add like gray, or I will add the focal color, and that usually like brings things down. One of the ways that I kind of decide if I'm trying to think how to say this, kind of a safety check on my palettes, if I'm not sure if they're working together, is I'll try to mix everything together and see if it gets a weird shade of brown. Because for me, usually the palettes that I prefer to work with, when they mix together, you can still kind of see the color that was dominant in the painting, and it doesn't look very brown. I don't know, it might not have made sense either. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, and I think I've run out of helpful things to say, so thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments.